Hello all. Good afternoon. Hope you can hear me and see me too. So here's our today's topic is common pitfalls, and so welcome to today's webinar. And I'll be talking about various way Agile can fail. And I'm assuming that the participants today for this webinars have some previous experience of Agile. They have implemented or they are in the process of implementing it. So we'll talk about those things. So I will, for the attendees who have not done Agile before, I'll give you a brief introduction about what is Agile, and then we'll take it from there, and then we'll start talking about that. During any time, during the whole presentation, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand and type your questions, and then towards the end, I will be able to answer those. Thank you very much. Let's move on to the next one. So the topic, as I mentioned, common Agile failures and dealing with them. So before I go, let's introduce what is Agile. It's an alternative, basically it's an alternative delivery method which helps you to deliver a new projects. It could be a new product development, new software, or any type of project. And this is the methodology which is very iterative, and it delivers in a cyclic way. We follow the standard waterfall methodology, but it's like analysis, design, development of your product, implementation, and evaluation. They go in this iterative way. So you deliver your project in 2 to 4 weeks kind of thing, and then again start a new cycle. So small cycles, small increment, and you build component after component, add to each other, and then integrate everything together to make a big project. So basically an iterative team-based approach to product development. It emphasizes on rapid delivery of completed functional components, as I mentioned before. It's pretty time boxed and very, very focused. Time boxed in the sense of instead of a long-term project, these projects are 2 to 4 weeks, and then after that you start a new cycle. And by focused, I mean is you deliver a highly prioritized and highest priority user stories or values to the customer. Therefore, it's focused. So throughout the life cycle of a project, you keep prioritizing your product backlog. And these deliverables are prioritized by business value. So it always focuses on delivering the highest business value. And these incremental products are reviewed and evaluated regularly after 2 to 4 weeks kind of thing. So you keep getting the right feedback on time, and then you basically involve a customer throughout the life cycle of your project, and the product increments every sprint. So moving on to the topic, the common failure of Agile implementation. And so before I talk about that thing, I'd like to talk about some change. Any Agile implementation is basically change, and this, as this picture describes, it's like when you're moving from old status quo to a different new status quo, you suddenly realize something change is happening, and most of all, hate changes because you're out of your comfort zone, you show some kind of a resistance, so suddenly you realize that there's some change going to happen, and then you start resisting change because we all hate it. And then once we start hating or start showing resistance, it becomes chaotic for all of them. And then I think that is when most of the things start failing, and because it's chaotic, it's not in order, and we all are panicking during the change. But if you see the whole change process, after this chaos, we go through a kind of a transformation ideas and transforming ideas, and we start seeing light to the end of the tunnel, and we start, putting new ideas and new efforts, and start integrating our efforts together. Then once we have sustained this change, and once we have moved to a different new status, it becomes a new process or a business as usual, basically. But you need to go through this kind of a change. And the reason for telling this, because Agile transformation is a change. and since it's a change, you will see some resistance, you'll see some chaos, and you'll see some failures as well. So I've been doing transformation for so many years, and I've seen various organizations failing in various steps. And so I tried to list all those common problems so that the new organization can learn from there, and then the failure, the time duration will shrink automatically, because then we can take corrective measures to avoid those failures. So let's talk about common failures. What are common failures? Seriously, on any organization, the serious lack of buying in from people, why this change is happening. Another reason that there's no business people available to support you. Could be a lack of business goal or ambiguous goal, typical upfront requirements, people writing and designing all those things can cause problem. Accepting change or adapting to change can be another problem why it fails. Empowerment, people's empowerment is very important, and that's another reason why if people are not empowered, then it's likely to fail. Another reason is low performing or poor performing people, actually. They cause failures. And we'll talk about this, how to deal with this poor performing people. Again, we all love multitasking, and we've been told in management that, yeah, you should multitask, and we allocate people to various projects. And that is another reason why if you don't find a dedicated team, Agile doesn't work in that situation. And multitasking doesn't help actually during the transformation. Another, lack of integration. People don't integrate their effort. So integration in terms of code, integrate in terms of various components if you're building a hardware product, and these could be a reason for failure. And another one is a support. Lack of senior management support is very important. This is the one most important reason why things fail. So we'll talk about each of them in great detail, and we'll also talk about how we can fix them, how we can deal with this kind of a situation. And as I said, that is a journey. Agile is a journey, and we all will go through this kind of a failure. But knowing about them and preparing ourselves for those failures probably will shorten our the failure cycle, and we will be successful much faster. So the first thing was, as I was saying, buying in. You'll see this kind of a situation, yeah, whatever, and this kind of a behavior from people or team people or various managers saying that, yeah, it's another new methodology. When Prince 2 came, then PMI came, and all those things is another new buzzword. And that kind of attitude is the main common problem. So people not buying into Agile is because I think there's why questions like this, why are we doing this? Everything is working fine. Okay, this takes much longer because so much of we go through so much of exercises and so many practices and so many ceremonies in Agile world, and they think that, yeah, it takes much longer actually. Some people will complain that, yeah, we were happy working the way we used to, so they don't want to change status quo, and that is where the problem is. So a few people will come to a stage where they'll say, why did you ruin everything? I hate you. So these kind of comments, you'll get that. So buying in is very important at team level, at management level, or middle management level. All three levels, I think you need to have a buying in. So most important thing in any of the change management is to sell your ideas to people. And in order to do that, you need to understand the behavior, you need to understand the culture of your organization, and then you need to tailor your approach to communicate with people, people on the floor who will be actually doing the project development, middle management team, if you are working in metrics organization, then the middle management team need to empower and support their team members, allow them to go and work in an Agile environment. So that's very important. And the senior manager. So you need to sell them the benefits of Agile, and they need to understand, they need to support. So buying into to Agile is very important before you start. If they're not buying into, they will not actually support you. Any, could be team member, could be manager, could be your director. The next one is, business people. Business people not being available to you. Very simple concept. You'll see that, we are too busy. Okay, can't you see that we are busy doing the business, and we have day job to do, and various kind of things we keep getting it. So it's very important that project without business are really, really bad. We need collaboration. We need their requirements. We need to understand their requirements clearly. We need to clarify throughout the project life cycle. So it's very, very important to go back and talk to business on a regular interval. And for this, I think the senior managers, senior people in the organization needs to make this happen. They need to convince business people to take the ownership and dedicate themselves to project lifecycle, so that they are 100% available to us. And could be they should be available for daily stand-up, just 15 minutes of their time, each morning in person or phone for questions, because during the product development you might have hundreds of questions, and it could be business related question which only business can answer. So they need to be available for answering those questions over the phone or in person. And then 2 to 3 days every 2 weeks for sprint reviews, for retrospectives, for grooming your product backlog. These are the time box events. So if they commit to that, the team is going to succeed in Agile. So it's very important. The next is lack of common goal, lack of or unclarity about or vagueness of your goal. And this is the worst thing can happen to any team, where the 10 different direction and they don't know where to go. The goalpost is moving all the time, so they can't set their eyes on one goal and march towards that. That's very important. It's common way of common reason. So there's no clear business goal, and it's the very, very common reason for failure. So the business goal is a beacon for all the team members, so that they know where to go and which direction to go. Recent studies showed that setting written and visible goal and the reporting progress leads to over 70% achievement rate on an average. So it's very important to have this kind of thing, goal written on the wall, or where the team area is very clearly understanding what our organization wants to achieve, what the project wants to achieve, and how it is aligned to each other. So that communication is very, very important to everyone. So if you do not have a clear business goal, I think it's time to go and set those business goals and make them visible to team members and start progressing it. And also it's important how you convey it. So you need to convey intent with a very clear, simple, and visible statement. It's also known as commander's intent. So if anyone from the military background, they'll understand that. Commanders, before starting, they just clearly state this is what you're going to achieve, and then they ask you, do you have any doubts? And they clear all those doubts before they start. So very clear understanding of business goal, where the team is supposed to go. So next possible reason is, yes, documentation, over documentation. I call it actually over analysis of your requirements and upfront designing. Okay. So from traditional background, we are so used to of writing your requirements document and then have an upfront design, and then only development of product starts. I think this could lead to a Agile failure, because simply Agile believes in evolving requirements, evolving design. So it's framework. So basically, this framework is for learning, and detail emerges as the development progress. So we build something, then get the feedback and start improving those products. So that's it. And if you don't do it, if you do upfront analysis, the worst thing is you make too many assumptions. You include unwanted features in development. And then at the end of sprint, you frantically start reworking, testing to deliver something to the customer. So therefore, you don't need to have the upfront requirement. You should just, as you go along, just in time, start developing. So remember 3 C's. If somebody has attended my classroom earlier. 3 C's are: 1 C for card, 2nd C is for conversation, and 3rd C is confirmation. So I'll go in more in detail about this. So basically, instead of writing your detailed requirement document, you need to just identify what do you want to achieve and put them in a piece of card and just hang it on the wall or somewhere in your whiteboard. And that is when the people start, okay, what is this requirement? And development team, testing team with business team will get together and start talking about what do you mean by this 2 lines. For a simple example, if my requirement is I want end user to register for my product, upcoming music launch. And then teams start asking questions, customer, what exactly do you mean by music launch, and who's your customer? And this is where the conversation starts, and then maybe your customer will say that, yeah, mine is, my typical user will be a youngster between 14 to 34 years old, male and female, and there may be a younger lot who like to listen to music, and this is a music launch happening. So a part of this application, they can download their favorite music and they can create a playlist kind of thing. So this kind of a conversation start between the team and the business people. 3rd C is a confirmation. Once you have had this conversation, just the back side of the card, just write all this acceptance criteria. That is a confirmation of what you have discussed. So you've already had a card which had just one liner, that we had conversation, then you had confirmation of that. That's all you need for your designing and requirements gathering. And then you can move on and start designing actually a product based on that conversation. So it's very important for you all to remember the 3 C's: card, conversation, confirmation. Okay, so next reason I think is a change. Lack of acceptance of change, and this is what happens is every time we come see some change, we fail to adopt to those changes, and that is what, because as I mentioned right in the beginning, Agile is a change of paradigm, change of mindset, change of your existing process, change the way you think, change the way you interact with your customer. So it's a massive change happening, and if you fail to accept that change, fail to adopt those change, then Agile is going to go fail. So the best way to deal with this is give a change a big hug and tell it that you love it as it's your best friend ever. So that is how you can just take the change and happily start changing. Change happens, and development activities need to respond to deliver the right solution. So in this in yesterday's webinar, on Friday's webinar, I mentioned that is a hyper competitive market. In this market, all the organization, all the team needs to be very, very agile. And if you can't respond to change, you cannot adopt agile methodology. So it's very important that you need to respond to changes happening in order to deliver the right solution. And if you're running a perfect project, you've done everything on time, but you're not delivering a appropriate solution, then it's a big failure. So it's very important that you welcome change happily and adopt to those changes and allow your customer to change their mind, because the product is evolving. They have never seen that product before. They made some assumption, and based on those assumptions, you start developing a product. So allow them to go and think, and allow them to go and reflect on that and improve that product. Next one is, you must have heard this buzzword in every organization. We are empowering our people. You are empowered. And then you realize your boss still expects you to take his permission or her permission before you do any action. So that's not a true empowerment. And that's what I think this picture is showing. So team empowerment is very important. If his team is not empowered, your agile transformation is going to fail. So one thing you remember, it's all about people, people, people. And Agile, any organization is made out of people, and these people will either make it fail or make it succeed. So it's very important that a team is empowered. Tools and buzzword, they won't work. performing agile team accept group responsibility. That's the beauty of agile methodology. We actually is a team ownership, and team takes the responsibility of delivering this. Unless you empower them, they will not succeed. So it's very important. And they should be empowered to make day-to-day decisions without going to the managers and reducing the decision-making time. Yeah. As a senior manager or middle manager, you need to let it go. Let them decide. Let them fail. Let them learn quickly. That's very important. And you need to adopt more of a coaching role instead of a manager role or instead of a leader role. So you coach them and empower them to take right decisions for the organization. And it's very important that business and technical collaboration need to take place in order to this thing. So this actually will reduce the delay between team deciding and taking permission from the business. If they're talking to each other, they'll take the decision quickly, and business will just quickly say, yeah, that's right, and go ahead. So that's one thing. This is how you can actually improve and enable your agile transformation. The next possible reason is, poor performing team members, and we all have it. We all have it in our organization. Any organization you go, people have, and it could be a number of reasons why they are not performing well. But because of these people, the chances of agile failing is very high. So how do you make them high-performing people? So as we said, we all know that agile is not a silver bullet to resolve all the issue. It won't resolve the issue of underperforming people, but it can definitely support actually to set up kind of a makes the whole activity very transparent. Agile is very transparent. We demonstrate our product to everyone. We have information radiators. We have post-its all over the wall telling people this is what we are doing and this is what we have achieved. So it makes it very, very transparent for people. And because of this transparency, some people are not very comfortable working in this kind of open way, where everything is exposed and they themselves are exposed. And that could be one reason why they don't perform well, because they feel uncomfortable in that environment. So it's great that Agile gives you that 2 to 4 weeks or 4 weeks kind of a short-term objective. So you can set your sprint goal before starting, or you can set your project goal and then actually demonstrate that you can achieve. So it's much easier for people to set smaller chunk, smaller goal, very small objective, which can be tested and which can be achieved within the sprint, and they achieve. So that slowly starts feeding back or kind of start improving their confidence and then buying in actually once they themselves start demonstrating that they can achieve. So it's very important, and they're supported by the team for the delivery. So that's what I feel is very important. So they receive frequent and positive feedback and enjoy the small victories. So it's very, very important for anyone to actually feel appreciated and recognized for their work. They're doing it. And this is how you can fix underperforming people in the organization. So moving on to next one, I just want to check whether the speed is okay for you all. Anyone wants to raise hand or anything? I'm assuming that everyone is fine and we can carry on doing. Yeah, okay, looks like everyone's fine. Okay, so next one is common agile failure is multitasking, especially technical people trying to do multitasking. We have a tendency of actually allocating people to a multiple project. Best thing is to not do that. Again, please, they are not butter, so you can't spread them too thin. So very, very important that don't spread technical staff too thin. Okay. Projects are not, you must have seen that projects are not prioritized. They run many projects in parallel, and also people struggle to deliver those parallel projects. So it's very important that team has a room where they can collaborate, they can respond to change and get the solution right. So remember to not spread them thin and have them a room where they can collaborate and work in one single project. Very, very focused team members. Okay, so next potential cause of failure is unit tests. We all test our product, but we don't integrate. So we wait till the end, and then once we start trying to integrate, then realize, oh my God, this doesn't work, and then you have to go back and rework. Very simple example shown on the picture. So this integration is very important. So lack of integration or lack of review in normal traditional project causes this failure, and we still have the similar kind of mindset when we start adopting Agile. We do not integrate things, we do not review, and that leads us to fail. Is basically what I'm saying is, without integration, it's just a series of mini waterfall projects, because you haven't seen the last end product, and we don't know whether it's still adding value to business or not. So integration does help you to get the feedback early on, and also from review and testing, you can see what defects you're introducing, whether it's working or your design needs updating or you need any refactoring. So that's very, very important to do that. Also, integrated testing is important for incremental delivery. So it could be a software product or hardware product, but integration is very, very important. It builds trust. Once you have integrated and proven that my solution is working, it builds basically trust with your stakeholders. So it's very important to have the integration done. Now, final reason, I think the 10th reason which I felt that is very important, that I think most of the organization fail, is no support from senior managers. They just think that, oh, Agile is something team needs to do, a team need to go and do Scrum, and they just go and do Scrum, and senior manager, they don't support, and lack of this support actually causes problem. So the absence of support and buying in from the senior people is the biggest reason in any organization, because for fixing bigger issues we rely on senior managers and their support and their action. So it's very important to have their support and have their kind of a understanding why we're making these changes and what sort of a support we need from them. So remember that they need to have very effective vision or sponsorship. So they need to sponsor this kind of work and then make sure people have clear, they are empowered, they are supported, they are very clear, they have the clear vision, and all those kind of things are very important. And as senior, you need to agree a communication plan and the key points of involvement. So it could be a steering committee, it could be a steering committee meeting, or during the reviews, or when you're doing a big show and tell across all the project team. The key involvement is very important, and they should be able to go and answer those and fix those issues for you. Okay, so with that, do you think that you're special one when it comes to failure? I don't think so. We all fail, but we all need to learn. And then, when we fall down, we need to get up and then start carrying on. So do not stop while doing your Agile implementation. If you come across problem, don't give up, and start looking for a creative solution and move on. One day you'll transform the whole organization, because it's very important to have that Agile organization these days. With that, I'm open to question and answer session. So any questions, please let me know. Yeah. Okay. So I'm assuming there's no questions. Okay. So with that, if you're thinking of adopting Agile, then there are top 10 questions you need to ask before adopting. So you need to go and understand whether you have support, whether you have right product owner, whether they're committed people, whether you are empowered, do you have a space where your team can sit and collaborate with each other, they have right mindset, right tools, and all those things. So we have come up with a simple list of questions which you need to ask before adopting. It can be downloaded from the link shown below. So please download that and then start using the link. With that, thank you very much for coming and joining us for this webinar. Really appreciate your time. The next webinar we are going to do is will be next Friday, and the topic will be published soon. And if you like this webinar, please follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And once you follow, you'll get a voucher and you'll get 10% discount on our courses. So thank you very much once again. Bye-bye.